Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, I don't know where asthma comes from. I happen to be born with it. So, but I've dealt with it for a long, long time. And, this important hearing, the thing that we're not doing is nobody has given me a number of what it's going to cost to meet all these goals. In other words, how much are the American people going to have to sacrifice? Now, we lead the world in reduction of carbon emissions. There's no question about that. And overwhelmingly lead the world. We have spent a lot of treasure to the extent we're 31.5 trillion and growing every second debt in this country. The markets are very volatile right now, the financial markets, because of this government spending and because of this debt. In fact, you're seeing, chairmen of major financial institutions in this country said, if you don't get your fiscal house in order, that is the greatest existential threat to this country. Because if we become a third world country, we might be clean, but, we won't be the country we are. And debt will do that. The potential threats to our national security we've talked about with these new policies are not fully understood, and I hope that today we can learn more about them. Right now, there's a push towards transitioning our energy to be dependent solely on renewables. And, of course, personally, I'm from an all-in approach. We need to be energy dominant again. The reality is that many of these favored technologies require critical materials that we are relying on from other countries, predominantly China, and others whose mining industries are largely controlled by the CCP. We should not be dependent on our adversaries for these critical materials. If we're going to dramatically increase deployment of green technologies in electric vehicles, we must look at domestic remedies. I have not heard one remedy here today to do that. Nothing is being done to that. We can't get permits to mine today. Mr. Mills, you noted that the United States is 100% relying on imports of 17 critical minerals and heavily dependent on other countries for 28 of the 50 critical minerals identified by the United States Geological Survey. China specifically is the top producer for most of those critical materials. What are the national security risks associated with relying almost entirely on critical mineral inputs from other countries, predominantly China?
Well, Congressman, as you well know, the dependence on other countries for things that are critical is a geopolitical risk by definition. With all due respect to the Congress of the United States, we're now fully 70 years into hearings about critical mineral dependencies. Began shortly after World War I, ironically, escalated after World War II, and for the last 20 years or 30 years, in my experience with the Congress, there have been dozens of studies and reports, hearings, legislations dedicated to solving the critical mineral problems. It's only solved one way. Its environmental regulations have to be modified to encourage mining and refining of minerals. That's never been done. We've done the opposite. We've increased our strategic dependencies. So as you say, sir, we get 100% of 17 critical minerals through imports. Another 20, we import about 50 to 80% of what our needs are, and we will increase those needs by orders of magnitude with these plans to build assembly plants here, not mines.
All right. And Mr. Simmons, what can we do to ensure that we're not reliant on China for critical mineral inputs?
Well, I mean, what that means is a massive increase in the amount of mining in the United States. That means that new mines actually get permitted. There is one new mine, to my knowledge, which is Thacker Pass in Nevada, that is a lithium mine. The Biden administration deserves credit. Let's give them kudos for that. That is now moving forward. That is fantastic, but we need much, much, much more. We need 42 times. The world needs 42 times as much lithium as we are currently producing today. That's going to come from a lot of different places.
And aren't we getting significant price fluctuations as well, as far as trying to move in this direction?
There is, I mean, we've had all kinds of price fluctuations, but overall, we've seen price increases. A lot of energy inflation over the past few years, and that's only going to get worse unless we have more production.
Yeah, and of course, the war on fossil fuel has created tremendous input cost to every business, which is affecting our ability to grow our economy. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.